Hello and welcome to another painting video. In this video I'm going to paint a pikeman for Pike Shotte, the 30 Years War. It's going to be a Swedish pikeman, and as you can see in front of you guys, these are the miniatures that I painted up, and it's going to be the miniature on the far right that I'm going to paint up. This is the backbone of the army of the 30 Years War, the pikemen. The miniatures are in 28mm and are from Warlord Games, and it's from their box with pikemen for Pike Shotte. They are all in metal. So first we're going to start to paint all the metal parts on this little lovely pikeman. The breastplates, the helmet, the sword, etc, etc. And as you can see, I already painted the face on this figure, but there's a video on how I paint faces, so you can check that out. Also, the base coat of the miniatures are the Wraith Bone Primer from Citadel. The black color is sort of a base coat before I put on the metal color. And now I'm going to use the Citadel color Contrast Agrox Dune. It's a very good color to use for the buff coats, so this is going to be for the buff coat for this pikeman. Also, those contrast paints and speed paints out there on the market are very useful to speed up your painting when you just want to get figures on the painting table. And as you can see here, I forgot to paint the sword with the black. And as the pikeman is now slowly coming to life, we are going to add tan yellow to the pikeman's hair, because this pikeman, let's call him Sven. A Swedish pikeman needs to have a blonde hair, of course. And now the pants. We are going to use Thousand Sons Blue. Of course, a Swedish pikeman with blonde hair need blue pants. This pikeman is going to be part of the blue or yellow regiment, and that is why I'm choosing the blue color and that yellow kind of buff coat on this figure. Agrox Dunes again, because I forgot to paint the lower part of this pikeman's buff coats, as you can see here. So the next thing I'm going to paint is the figure's gloves and all the leather parts. For that I'm going to use contrast paint Snakebite Leather. This video is very old, so my painting style had changed over time. This video should have been uploaded a long time ago, but you know, whatever, things happen and I forgot this video and such. And I'm not a professional painter. All I want to do is share my hobby with you guys, and I really hope you guys enjoy what I'm doing on this channel. And now, when we are done with all the leather parts on this figure, we are going to move to the shirt and the socks, and for that we are going to start with neutral grey as the base coat. The pikeman Sven is used to the cold, standing hours with the pike, waiting for the enemy to charge. So he has a very good nice shirt and a pair of warm socks that are going to be more of a white look when I add more highlight over the neutral grey. Now for the belt on his waist, I'm going to use a Wraith Bone. And if you're painting those details on the miniatures, it's good to use a small brush. And the higher quality brush you have, the better you can paint, but those are more expensive. And now I'm going to add Agrax Earthshade on some parts of the miniatures, starting with Sven the pikeman's lovely blonde hair, so he look very fancy when he push one of those Pappenheim cuirassiers off the horse into the mud during the Battle of the Lutzen 1632. Try not to use too much Agrax Earthshade. You don't want to drown the pikeman in Agrax Earthshade, even though those pikemen maybe needed a bath back then, but yeah. Well, and now I'm using Agrax on the pants too. Again, be careful to not use too much Agrax Earthshade. Find a nice balance. And I put some Agrax Earthshade on the shirt too. Now I'm going to use contrast paint snakebite leather on some of the leather straps on this pikeman and also on the belt around the waist on the pikeman. Now I'm going to work on the pikeman's armor again. I'm going to use Army Painter's gunmetal and start working up more of a shine over the armor of this pikeman. Some armor like breastplates and helmets were blackened back then in that time period, so I think that is that kind of armor I'm going for with this pikeman. So I'm slowly with the light brush strokes trying to start highlighting up the shine with the metal over the black parts of the armor, as you can see here. It is very easy to get stuck in those small details on the figure. So as for me, I'm always getting stuck, so here I'm working those layers up on the breastplates, on the back and the front. Just very small steps on those parts that are more showing on the figure, as you can see here. When you're using the metal paints, it could be good to not use your best, most expensive quality brush for this kind of work. And now all those metal parts that I just painted going to get a shade, a wash, Citadel Nuln Oil on all those metal parts. Again, be careful to not splash the Nuln Oil all over the figures. It's very easy to just let's say ruin the figure when you splash Nuln Oil on locations on the figure where you don't want to have Nuln Oil. And again, try to find some nice balance with the Nuln Oil when you apply it. And don't use your most expensive high quality brush on this kind of work when you use Nuln Oil or metal paints. And now I'm going to start highlighting the buff coat with a Vallejo color buff. And for this I'm using my more expensive high quality brush for this work. It's just slow and light small strokes over those high parts of the buff coat. So I'm just trying to find those small edges on the part of the miniatures on the buff coat to add those highlights, as you can see here. And now I'm gonna add two red colors, Mephiston's Red and Evil Sun's Scarl, on those small parts between his socks and his pants. As you can see here, just first the base red and then start a small highlight over those small parts. Now I'm going to work on his pants again, start adding highlights with Thousand Suns Blue and also add some white in that mix. First I applying the base coat again, just a little small strokes over some high parts or some parts that I missed before. I think I missed some parts or I was not happy. And now I'm adding that little mix of white and blue together on those higher parts on the figure, as you can see here. Small light brush strokes with my high quality brush for this work. And now I'm gonna start working on his shirt and socks to bring up the white-gray look on his cloth. For that I'm using Vallejo Sky Gray. Adding small light strokes on those higher parts of his socks here. And now it's time for the last highlight, and that is going to be off-white from the Vallejo color. Just small touches with a brush on those edges on his little shirt. Just building up the layers, just adding small touches and then adding more and more white, but be careful so you don't start flying around with the brush and adding colors where you don't want to add colors on the miniatures. And then I do exactly the same on his socks, as you can see here. Tan yellow is going to be used to highlight the leather parts on the miniatures. It's going to be the gloves and also the leather straps. Again, small touches with this brush on those edges. So what I'm doing is just applying one layer very slow and light, and then more and more, bringing the highlight up until you're happy with what you're doing. And as I mentioned before, this is an old video, that's why the lighting is not the best. Now for the main weapon for the pikeman, the pike. I used contrast paint Vlidewood to paint the base color for the pike, and then just trying to attach the pike where you want it to be. Just be careful you don't get super glue all over your place, and remember, super glue is also nothing you want to inhale or get in your eyes or something, so be very careful using super glue. So with the pike in place in the pikeman's hand and he's ready to brace for impact, we are going to highlight the pike with some beige brown from Vallejo color. I'm slowly building up the layers again on the pike, as you can see here. Then I'm just gonna add a little bit of tan yellow over the pike, just small dots here and there, back and forth. And the last thing I do is adding Seraphim Sepia all over the pike, just to get it to blend with all the colors I added on the pike. And now it's time to go to the hairdresser. The pikeman Sven going to get tan yellow on his hair for the highlight. He's going to look very fancy when those Pappenheim cuirassiers trying to cut him down. So now for the final little touch on the metal parts, I'm going back with Army Painter Gunmetal, starting to building up more highlights, maybe deeper touches of the paint on the parts that I want to be more shiny, just slowly on those edges or parts that I could find that are showing on the miniatures. Adding a little final touch of Nuln Oil on the sharp point on the pike. And finally the miniature is done and ready for the gaming table. Or as we could say, the pikeman Sven is now ready to join his comrade in the Swedish pike block. The first pikeman that could knock off one of Pappenheim's cuirassiers will get extra ration of ale and fermented herring. Well guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this little painting video, and here are the pike block ready for the gaming table. And in the end of the video is gonna be some more pictures of this little pike man or pike block. So feel free to subscribe, and everybody take care and keep on painting. Goodbye.